We're in Florida, in Orlando, the gateway to the Magic Kingdom, and open door tonight to the Budweiser U.S. Hot Rod Truck Pull Championships, featuring the Battle of the Monster Trucks. Hi again, everybody. I'm Ken Brew. This is my buddy and partner, Mike Galloway. Mike, tonight we got four-wheel drives, two-wheel drives, tanks, and monster trucks.
Just a great, good rounded show with a lot of exciting competition. The track looks like it's going to stay together pretty good. A lot of sand in it, but it still packs good, and it works real good. It's caused some problems for the guys in some earlier runs, and I think we're going to see some very exciting competition.
Also, again, the battle between the tanks and the monster trucks, which fans just seem to love. And these tanks, they just keep getting bigger and stronger. We got Bigfoot Fastrax here with us tonight.
Bigfoot Fastrax is here, and also the Stormtrooper track vehicle is here. We also have Virginia Giant. Dale Wilson is here with his new 88 Ford truck, and also the ever-exciting Excaliber. So great round of competition tonight.
Dale Wilson is here?
Dale Wilson is live.
Sounds like a pretty good deal to me. And the Budweiser U.S. Hot Rod Truck Pull Championships, featuring the Battle of the Monster Trucks, is brought to you by Budweiser. Beechwood Age for that distinctively clean, crisp taste that makes Budweiser the king of beers. For all you do, this Bud's for you. We're back at the Orlando Arena. Ken Brew along with Mike Galloway. Exhibition class time. Some of the great funny cars are here tonight, and boy, I'll tell you what, when you're talking funny cars, one of the first names that has to come to mind is Mike Hoff. There he is behind the wheel of the Nitro Express, and our Mike Galloway had a chance to talk to him before he got going tonight.
Mike Hoff pilots the Nitro Express. Mike, how did this funny car get started in pulling?
Well, the pulling fans have a natural draw to drag racing and the drag racing cars. So when we brought the funny car into pulling, it was just a natural attraction for the people, and they just all attract to it.
Tell me this, how does this car differ from a funny car that we see on the drag strip?
Well, basically, the engine's the same, the clutch is the same, the transmission's the same, the rear tires are different, and it weighs a little bit more.
How much?
Weighs 6,000 pounds. That's 4,000 pounds more than a drag racing funny car.
How fast do you think you go?
Well, last night when I went through the doorway of the building here, I was going about 40 miles an hour with a 40,000 pound sled behind me.
Is it exciting?
That was.
We'll see if he gets excited tonight. Mike Hoff, always in for a good ride with the Nitro Express funny car.
What a great competitor, Mike Hoff. I know you think a lot of him, Mike Galloway.
Oh, he's just a super gentleman all the way around. Little town, Pennsylvania. And strangely enough, we may have mentioned this before, but he makes his living operating the U.S. only full-time pulling track. They run on Saturday night, much like sprint cars would run other places, only he has a pull track at the Buck.
I know he's real proud of it, too, and real proud of this Dodge. It's going to pull the sled right now. Right out the door.
He got close. The mud flap, look how close he is to the wall. You know, some of these days Hoff is going to misjudge the distance and he's going to kiss it, but tonight wasn't the night.
Mike Galloway, he'd like to drive that to Disney World.
Well, I thought he was on his way, and it may be a new ride at Disney World. Watch this shot. This is beautiful. He's just kind of playing with this Dodge. This is a Hemi 16 plugs, 2 spark plugs per cylinder. It's the big horsepower Hemi, the new experimental. And Mike's also got a super clutch in this thing that works real well. But look at him. Right outside the door, our gentleman riding the sled, you know, kind of sucks in and gets real close about that time.
It's almost like he had a bus to catch. That is what they refer to in our business, Mike Galloway, as a full pull. In other words, there's no further he could have gone. They're calling it the Dragster Funny Car Shootout, and that rail is can't eat. I know that Bob Zundell, who calls not too far from Pittsburgh home, is real proud of this machine. Chevy Dragster, and a gorgeous paint job.
Bob, there, ooh, that's a good shot of Bob. Tucked down inside the dragster. He says that he is in the farm equipment repair. Now, how that relates to running a pulling dragster, I don't know, but I see where it could in a way.
It looks so cool, and there's a nice shot of the big drag tires. Zundell is no stranger to truck pulling.
He runs a 2-wheel drive pulling truck also, the Steel City Shaker truck.
well versed in all the rules and ramifications of truck pulling, and like Mike Hoff will try and drag this sled right out the door.
27 feet long is the length on this dragster. I hope he straightens the tires out.
Not unlike, yes, I would say so. Not unlike the dragsters. If you're uninitiated at truck pulling, this is not unlike the dragsters you would see at some of the major drag strips of the country. The tires, the rear tires are different. Of course, the drag strip don't have the rib tires, but very similar. And I would call that a full pull, too.
I would say so. Beautiful job. This dragster is a little bit heavier than your norm for dragsters, though.
And I would think the man sitting on the back of the sled maybe is just a little more wary after a hop going out the door with it.
I'd say that'd be a good observation, Ken.
You know, Bob was all business, wasn't he?
Oh, he always is. Just makes the motor work for him. The dragster is doing a great job. Breaks the tires loose early. Kind of a morning ride, if you would, with this beautiful canned heat dragster, patting the ground a couple of times. And look at the determined look on Bob Zundell's face as he heads it out the door, gets it between the two side walls, and outside we go with Bob Zundell.
And for Bob Zundell, it's a full pull. So like Hoff before him, Zundell goes out the door. We'll be right back here from Orlando with four-wheel drive pulling action in just a moment. In Orlando is pretty new. It's only been open a couple of weeks. It is the home to the Orlando Magic of the NBA, brand new franchise playing in the 89-90 season. And they think it can be host to a few more things, possibly ice hockey down the road, certainly a lot of concerts. Mike, it's a show palace. It really is.
Ken, it's got to be ranked as one of the prettiest buildings we've been into. The outside of this thing is just like a palace, and the inside of it is fit for a king. It is truly a beautiful place.
Well, it's fit for Dan Quello, who is our first competitor tonight in the four-wheel drive competition. And these trucks really have power and fury, and there is nobody better than the man from the now seemingly mythical city of Turlock, California, Dan Quello. Here he is with the first run of the night. A great pull to start the four-wheel drive.
I think he may have taken it out. If he didn't, he's just within a matter of inches of taking it out. I saw that on this run, he runs an automatic transmission in this truck. There's Dan, and there's his Red Rabbit.
If you're just joining us on these truck pulls, Quello is a Portuguese name that means rabbit. And he was down the track like a rabbit, choosing the right side of the track. Let's watch the tire speed.
He had a good place to run because he first puller out tonight. The track's well packed. It's got all the traction it's going to have right this moment. And Dan Quello hooks up and just does an absolute beautiful job. Takes it out the door. It's a full pull for the Red Rabbit. The automatic did the job. It's a 540 cubic inch Keith Black injected Hemi, and out the gate with a full pull for Dan Quello.
You know, you talk about truck pulling, and one of the first names that come to mind is Ewan. You got Paula Ewan, who is certainly the prettier side of this pulling team, and Kenneth Ewan, and the Oklahoman. Mike, I know you're very close to this family. They are so dedicated to this sport, and they always seem to be on the cutting edge.
Oh, no doubt. There's a good shot again. The motors, they're as good and as fine honed as you can get. Ken, they've got all four of their trucks here tonight. Their two modifieds, their two-wheel drive, and their tank are all here in competition. Lewis Boyd out of Norman, Oklahoma, builds the motors, and they are tough. He could put it out.
He comes close, but again, not a full pull.
That first hook of the night is really showing up. We talk about the draw situation. When they come in to pull each night, they draw for position on the track. Dan Quello drew himself the best number you could have tonight.
And again, it is luck of the draw, and there are some nights when the number 1 draw isn't as good as the number 15 draw.
Yeah, not the place to be. We've seen tracks that early on weren't good tracks, but turned around in the middle of the class. I don't think we'll see it here. This is a dry track.
Let's watch the butterflies, the 3 circles. We'll see how quickly they open, and it almost is right away, isn't it?
Well, he's easing into it. Ken's a 2-stage driver. Crack him and then wide open, and you see that. He's got some good ground speed, but you know, the sled is weighted up so it's to catch him right on the end, and when that happens, you see him come down right on the end of the track, and there's no traction to get it the other small distance to get it out.
And the Oklahoman, Will Rogers in spirit, but unfortunately, Gabby Hayes in actuality. He comes up short, 142 feet and 8 inches for Kenneth Ewan tonight. Here is Paula Ewan, 88 Chevy, nice sized engine, well over 600 cubic inch. And we'll see if she can do what husband Kenneth could not. I would think after watching several runs here tonight, Paula has had plenty of time, Mike, to choose the right gear for her trip down the track.
Oh, you can bet that if any decisions have been made, she made them. You know, this lady doesn't just sit there and drive the truck. She has a lot of input into what the truck does. They cut a couple of little struts out of it today. Kenneth had welded a couple of little pieces of iron from the body to the frame. That's the only thing they can think of that stopped this truck from hooking. Let's see if it helps.
Not tonight. And I think there was a great example of that track, and you can almost see the sand come flying up. You know, the tracks are indigenous to the area that the pull is held in, and being in Florida, you would expect a sandy type of track, and that's what we're seeing tonight. 140 feet and 2 inches for Paula Ewan out of Oklahoma City. The black gold does not make the pull-off.
This ESPN program is brought to you by Road Handler Treadlock Radials at Sears.
Who knows what power lurks behind the wheel of this truck? Only the shadow.
This shadow has got a good chance of taking it out.
Mike Slater, Grand Blanc, Michigan. Pretty truck. Mike also with his 2-wheel drive truck here tonight. And there's a great shot of Mike. $50,000 is what he thinks he has invested in this truck. It is a gorgeous piece of machinery.
I think Mike's got as good a chance of taking it out as anyone here. Let's see.
Yeah, nice idea. He tried the near side of the track, which no one has tried so far, but it still wasn't there at the end.
I thought that was a place to be, Ken. No one had been on that side, but boy, the bike sure wasn't there for the shadow. And Mike Slater, he had a good idea, really put the truck to a test, but the test came up short for him. He was mowing down the markers as he went down the track, which doesn't make any difference. The truck stayed inbounds. Let's watch it as it goes down the track.
He really played chicken with the line, didn't he?
He really stayed close to it all the way down, and he just, you know, he's running 6-8 inches off the line, and you see the right there that's going to knock down a marker. We got one that time. But that's fine. The truck stayed in bounds. It's a good hook all the way around, but like so many before him, he's short of full pull.
The shadow eclipsed tonight by the track. 140 feet and 7 inches for Mike Slater. And there's a sled on every corner. And his picture hangs in City Hall because in Truck Pull City, USA, a.k.a. Turlock, California, there's only one name that stands out. It's Dan Quello. He's got a full pull already tonight in the Red Rabbit, and now he tries it again in the Wild Hare. Similar trucks in style, but each has their own little personality, don't they, Mike?
Oh, most definitely. President of Danco Trailers. They make all sorts of trailers. This one is his get down and pull truck. This is one he built for competition. It's a Hemi dive.
That's as close as anybody's come since Quello went out the door with his other truck.
Let me tell you one thing. He's giving these boys and men and ladies a lesson in truck pulling tonight.
There's the rabbit again. Dan Quello.
There's the rabbit. Again, let's give him a nice round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. He gets out in front.
Ditches the hat, puts on the cap, backs out. The Wild Hare, 146 feet, 2.5 inches.
Makes him 1 and 2.
He is 1 and 2. He's got a full pull with one truck, and the Wild Hare is now in place.
Watch out. The Wow on Wheels is about to roar into your living room. It's the ultimate home video. Blood, sweat, and gears. Bigfoot takes on the toughest full-blown competition ever before facing his greatest test when Sergeant Slaughter and his battle battalion challenge Bigfoot to an all-out tug of war. So if you want gear-jamming, car-crushing, down and dirty action, get your credit card ready to order your video now. Call 1-800-351-1500. Blood, sweat, and gears.
Hi, I'm Steve.
In Orlando, this is Ken Brew with Mike Galloway, and in four-wheel drive competition tonight, there was no better performance than Dan Quello. Small change finished third. It was Wild Hare, also a Quello truck, in second place, but it was the Red Rabbit with the full pull that wowed them all tonight. Let's go trackside to Dan. Dan, I guess, first of all, congratulations, but second of all, I guess having the first draw tonight didn't hurt you at all, did it?
No, that probably helped a little bit. It was a good, clean track, although I think the track stayed together pretty good. It sure didn't hurt a bit.
What about the second truck, Dan? Did you learn a little bit off the first hook? When you came back with the second truck, everybody was running short, and you went up and put distance on them and went into the number 2 spot.
Yeah, I felt that you had to drive this track, and that's what I did with the second truck. I did hit kind of a hole, and that's, I feel, what kept me from getting into making a full pull with the second truck. But I think that's what made the difference, driving the track, and it's a tricky track, and I hit it kind of lucky with the first truck, and I learned a lot from it, and it carried on to the second.
You had the Hemis hauling tonight. Congratulations from up here, Dan. A great job.
Thank you.
Dan, before we let you go, can you describe for us the seemingly mythical town of Turlock, California? What is it like?
Well, it's about 32,000 people. Everyone is just real friendly. I don't know what else I could say. It's a great place to live.
Truck pulling capital of the world, isn't it?
Yeah, there's an awful lot of pull trucks in Turlock. We started pulling in Turlock. I built the first four-wheel drive sled that was in California, and so therefore it started there, and it's kind of branched out from there. But there's still a lot of pullers there, and they stayed with it.
Before we let you go, we want to also show you the replay of your pull tonight. We'll begin with the back end of your truck, and we can see the tire bite was just there right from the start to the finish.
Tell us about it, Dan.
Well, I come out kind of slow and easy, and just kind of gradually got into it, and I had the right gear and just the right amount of power. When I got all the way in it, it didn't buzz out of the track, and I think that was the difference between some of the trucks that maybe had either too much horsepower for the gear they were running, and if they had too much for the gear, they buzzed away.
You think the automatic helped you on this pass?
Oh yes, I absolutely did. Yes.
Yeah, it was an automatic type track, wasn't it?
Yes, I think so.
Beautiful job, Dan. We appreciate you, and say hello to everyone in Turlock and your beautiful wife, Shirley.
Thank you.
Dan Quello, the man of the hour tonight in four-wheel drive and a rabbit for good luck. And we are ready to go with the two-wheel drives. My favorite kind of trucks, because those front ends just go right up in the air. And when you're talking two-wheel drive trucks, you can talk no better than the Kool-Aid Kid. This is Bobby Johns from Moundsville, West Virginia. One whale of a driver. Oh, man, super pull for the Kool-Aid Kid.
Trips with just a beautiful job with this. Bobby Johns, maybe he's got a little advantage. He owns a speed shop, competition parts there in Moundsville. And, yeah, he thinks it's number one. You just have to ask Bobby. You don't even have to ask him. He'll just tell you how good he is.
So, Bobby, before we got going tonight, his face was sunburned. I said, Bobby, you been out in the sun? He says, yeah, I've been in trouble all afternoon. It's time to go to work.
And work he did. What a better way you couldn't find to start a two-wheel drive class than with Bobby Johns and the Kool-Aid Kid. The C-Pex turning hard. Bobby into the supercharged motor. You know, like right off the starting line area. The horsepower is good. The front end bouncing across the top. Beautiful job. Right on the end, of course, the weight transfer machine. The weight is on top of him, picks the front end up, and Bobby Johns has got a great run for him tonight.
Hey, he's called a Kool-Aid Kid, but he was packing some punch tonight. Bobby Johns goes the full distance. It's full tilt boogie for the Kool-Aid Kid. All right, here he is. Alan Gaines, one of the hot names in truck pulling. Alan has given the wheel tonight to Scott Dews, and this is the Orange Blossom Special 2.
Ken, the real Orange Blossom Special train, that one is parked about a half a mile from this arena.
Is that right? Well, here comes the Orange Blossom Special 2.
Did he make it look easy?
Bobby Johns has got some company because the Orange Blossom Special 2 will go to the pull-off.
Listen to this. This young man's 24 years of age. He's been involved in pulling for 12 years.
Well, when Alan Gaines can't drive, who does?
Scott Dews
does.
Beautiful job.
Thank you.
For Scott. Watch Scott. I mean, it's perfect. Eases with it just a little bit. Now we're going to trip the trigger, and it's wide open on the Orange Blossom Special. Scott handling the driving chores like the super pro that he is, and a fan is telling him to come on, and he did that. A full pull. Orange Blossom Special gives Bobby Johns some company in the pull-off.
Well, here is Hands Across the Sea. This is the Rice Burner. This is Bill Romsberg. It's, as I think we've pointed out on a number of occasions, a Toyota cab and a Chevy engine. It was good enough to get Bill Romsberg the two-wheel drive championship last year. He is a wonderful man. Mike Galloway had a chance to talk with him earlier tonight.
Bill Romsberg is the defending national champion. Bill, what's it going to take to win here tonight?
Well, last night we had a little trouble with the traction, so I think we're going to have to lighten the front end up tonight and try to put the bite on the back end of the truck to get it to hook a little better.
How's the track staying? Will it go together?
It stayed pretty consistent, but it didn't come back together. It was a little sandier than normal.
What's your number for tonight?
I think we're 5. That ought to be just about far enough down not to have any track left by the time it's our turn.
We'll see if Bill Romsberg's got track in just a few moments.
Bill Romsberg, the bearded one, behind the wheel of the Rice Burner. A seat, Mike, that sits right in the center of that cab.
There's the Rice Burner. Well, that's a good place to be, Kim, because of the simple reason that you can see both sides of the truck. You keep your eye on what's happening right down the middle, and that's what you want. Bill will come storming. Ooh, we've seen it.
Oh.
They're just, you know, knocked on the door, but traction wasn't there. Bill called for the motor early in the pull. The motor barked to life. I thought had a great run, but mid-track with the box coming up on it, you saw the motor begin to lug down a little bit, and it's not going to be a pull-off situation for Bill tonight.
Now, Bill Romsberg with a little rice-a-roly down the track to the tune of 142 feet, 4.5 inches. We'll be right back with the two-wheel drive pull-off here from Orlando in just a moment. We're back in Orlando. Ken Brew with Mike Galloway, all set for the two-wheel drive pull-off. We've got 3. Bobby Johns in the Kool-Aid Kid, and Scott Dews in the Orange Blossom Special 2, and Mike Slater in Darth Invader. The Kool-Aid Kid was the first to go the full distance. He will be the first to pull here right now in the pull-off. Mike, Bobby Johns, always near the money.
Bobby Johns is very, very tough, and he handles his truck well.
I think it's important to point out that the sled has been re-weighted, re-geared for this pull-off, and so you're not going to see the distances that we saw in the first round.
But Bobby sets the pace. This is the mark that the other 2 trucks will have to surpass to take over the lead and to win this. And Bobby Johns puts a real tough mark out there to start with, Ken.
Well, he's got the distance to beat now, 109 feet and 4 inches, so you can see that it is substantially shorter than a full pull. But again, that's due to the reweight of the box. Next up is Scott Dews in the Orange Blossom Special 2. You know, Mike, of the 3 that are in the pull-off right now, it seemed to me at least that Dews went out the door the easiest on his first pull.
And he did just that, Ken. He went out with more authority, I'd say, than the other two. The other two looked like they just kind of scraped across, but Scott went out and I thought had power left over.
In our business, we call it sharp. He looked sharp on his first pull. And here he is waiting for the green flag, and he has it. Well, he has eclipsed what Johns has done, and then some.
He put the pressure on Mike Slater with that run, just really putting it on him hard. Mike, you know, was sitting back there in the last place in his pull-off. That's not a bad place to be. You kind of understand what you've got to do when you get into that situation in the pull-off.
130 feet and 6 inches. Scott Dews bettering the mark of Bobby Johns by more than 21 feet. Well, the third one up is the Darth Invader. Now, understand that Mike Slater has watched both Bobby Johns and Scott Dews do their thing. Now Slater knows that he must better 130 feet and 9 inches. The Darth Invader.
What will be the driving style? Will Mike ease it out, or will he go for it all in the starting line? I think he'll go for every bit of it right in the starting line.
There was no ease in that one. He was all business right from the start.
But Scott Dews, as we talked earlier, and there Scott is, getting congratulations from Bill Romsberg. Yeah, #1, and Paula, Kathy, all of them congratulating this young man. You know, he's been around this as long as anyone, and we feel like he's just one of our kids. But seeing him grow up in this sport, taking over now, driving for Alan, super job on Scott's part.
I wonder if Alan said, "Don't call me unless you win."
I would venture to say that Alan told him something like that.
Yeah.
And they did go over today and look at the original Orange Blossom
Special.
Special.
Did. That's kind of like paying homage to the shrine. Scott Dews, the winner, here in the two-wheel drive pull-off. And we'll have more from Orlando in just a moment. Orlando, Ken Brew with Mike Galloway, and it's time to yuck it up a little bit because the funny cars are out on the track. And the Nitro Express is about as funny in a good sense as you can get. This is an awfully, I mean, you know, Mike Hopp doesn't do anything second rate. This thing is just top drawer.
I see no humor with the big horsepower.
No, sir. And he sees no humor behind the wheel either. It's all business.
Mike won the first round of this shootout. He comes back and wins this one, it's over with. And he's got lots and lots of horsepower to do it with. I don't know how he's going to top that run that he made a moment ago when he took the sled almost completely out of the arena.
Well, he's driving at Daytona, and Mike was at Daytona Beach earlier today.
Oh,
wow.
Ken, as we talked about earlier, one of these days Mike's going to kiss the wall. Well, he didn't kiss the wall, but he saw the wall coming in his direction. He backed out of the throttle trying to correct that situation, but the box was so far up the ramp, he was dead right there.
Well, here's canned heat again, the rail belonging to Bob Zundel. New Alexandria, PA is home. Boy, Zundel is in all aspects of this sport, isn't he?
Oh, no doubt about it. And very intense, very intense. Good, clean run will win this shootout for him.
Almost seems at ease behind the wheel, like he's out for his Sunday drive.
With 1,500 horsepower in his back pocket.
Now they're pulling the sled, Mike. The funny car, this rail. What would happen if that hook should come loose? You would think that these dragsters really couldn't stop.
It will immediately kill the motor, Ken. They're hooking up a kill switch that if that breaks, it will shut all the fire to the engine off. It will shut down, and then you hold on for the ride of a lifetime. It also has a backup hook on it. So, you know, you're looking at some circumstances that no doubt could happen, but they would be very few and far between.
Now, that wire is the kill switch?
The wire in the middle of the screen is a kill switch right there at the center. And if you break those two chains, well, then that kills the motor, but that's the last thing to happen, and you better be on the brakes in a hurry.
Right. Well, here he comes, Bob Zundel. Out the door!
Goodbye.
Bob Zundel is out the door and can't heat.
And the kids are telling about it. This crowd is going wild.
You know, and we'll see it, I hope, on the replay, but the expressions on his face as he's coming down the track, just great camera work.
Oh, beautiful.
As we can see the expressions on Zundel's face as he's struggling to keep the rail at center track.
I mean, he's intent on this thing so much. Down the track, front end up, and he's lined it up. I've got a straight shot at it. Now I'm going to go for it, and that he does, as he just, well, as you said, out of the building.
Orlando in Florida is our location tonight, and the battle of the monster trucks is about to begin. We've got some great monsters and some great tanks here tonight. Mike, let's set the scene. What are we going to see here tonight?
We're going to see two monster trucks, rubber tires, come out and do battle. They'll take the winner of that, and that will come back against the two tanks. The two tanks, the winner, final round, shootout, monsters, rubber tired, and tracks against each other.
Oh,
and
man.
We've got great monster trucks and great tanks.
Well, holy Toledo, from Toledo, Ohio, here is Dave Marquardt, and he is up first in Excaliber. Mike, what a gorgeous truck.
Boy, Dave's super sharp. He's young. He's only 28 years old, but he got into this early. He has got a lot of computer design work in this. There's a lot of chassis design that came out of the computer on this truck. And when we see the truck go over the cars, Ken, you're going to see that it does make a difference. It doesn't bounce. It flies well. It lands well. And it is a great truck. Supercharged, alcohol-injected Chevrolet setting in Excaliber.
Oh, man. Dave Marquardt.
He's first man out. Watch him fly this set of cars, and look at the Lincoln Continental. Goodbye, Lincoln.
Goodbye, Lincoln. Goodbye, everybody out there at center track.
Dave will show no fear. He was one of the first monster truck drivers that I saw jump cars.
Is that right?
Oh, yes. He really got into it. That's the way that suspension's set up. Shock angle's a little different than on a lot of trucks.
Oh, man! Oh!
And I do mean fly the cars.
Hey, man, put a cape on the back of that and you got Superman.
Exactly. Beautiful job. And this young man has done this, you know, forever. He's been involved in this monster truck business for about 5 years. He raced motorcycles before that, and he gets Excaliber around and gets it around well. He is involved, a CAD/CAM designer. He's in the plastics industry.
He's been in this 5 years, motorcycles. Before that, he says he loves to barefoot water ski. That's a rush, too.
I wonder if he does that behind his monster truck.
Wouldn't that be something?
Now he will back off and get him a shot at him. Look at the second car in line, Ken. They haven't even scratched the paint on that one.
Waving to the crowd.
Lines it up. Here he goes. Uh-oh! My heaven! He has to get the Altitude of the Year award for that one.
Have mercy.
And he didn't have any mercy. Back up, Wheeler. Look out. Can you believe that? What action from that young man.
And there he is. He says, I own the joint.
He does that right now. Excaliber Racing has started it off, and he's made it tough on the Virginia Giant. Look at that Lincoln now.
Mike, this is the second jump where he was literally nose up in the air. Watch.
Altitude of the Year. Look at this. My heavens, that's got to be a 9.9 if you were
man
judging them that way.
Dave Marquardt, this bud's for you, pal. Well, here is Deal Wilson in the Virginia Giant, Winchester, Virginia's home.
Is that the picture of beauty?
Yes, it is. It really is. And Deal is such a great competitor. We've seen him for so many years here on these ESPN broadcasts.
Supercharged Hemi Ford. And this is a new 88 body style. Deal owns and operates a body shop, and that's why you see this fantastic paint work on this. Beautiful 89 Ford truck. I'll tell you what, he's got his work cut out for him to outdo that Excaliber.
Well, the Excaliber sure put on a show, but show business is the life of the Virginia Giant.
13,200 pounds. Deal Wilson will challenge Excaliber. And he does. Just dances across the top. Nails the throttle. That sets him down on the ground, lets him stop the truck.
Now, the Excaliber was a blown injected. This is a supercharged fuel injected. Oh.
Just different wording, same situation.
Same deal, okay.
Well, it is a beautiful truck, and he is really doing a war dance on top of him. Winchester, Virginia. Look at the roll cage, beautiful roll cage on the inside of that truck, and these guys need that roll cage very bad. The Virginia Giant, Deal tells me he is also building a new track vehicle.
Is that right?
Very excited about it.
They're all getting into them, aren't they?
Yes, and this is the one that Deal is building is the later model tank. So great vehicle.
Tough to work on, I would think, having to go to pulls during the week. You almost have to build it in your spare time.
Well, and there's not any of that when you run a monster truck. There's a good launch car right there. That old Lincoln has really crushed down on that one side. It's got a lot of air. You can get a lot of air. It's kind of a ramp type situation when you hit the Lincoln. And we're going to see, there it is. See how it's sloped down to one side, and the driver's side still the same height as normal.
Oh!
Deal absolutely doing a great job with this thing. He does super work. Deal's been at it a long time. He was one of the early originators in monster trucks. Monster trucks just starting to catch on. He was a great truck puller for a number of years.
There is the Excaliber. And he will move out of the way. Yep. I think Deal's going to make one more pass here.
I think they'll bring them both out to center court, Ken, and choose a winner. Watch this. They're going to put both of them up at the same time on the cars, and then the crowd will choose a winner. And there's Deal. And there's Excaliber. Look at this. Beautiful monster truck. As far as I know, Deal owns the only flip-top bodied monster truck anywhere in the country. And when he does that, that lets you take a look at the roll cage that he's setting in this truck. And now the crowd will decide a winner.
Exactly. Let's listen. Mike, while the crowd is roaring its approval, here is the last pass that the Virginia Giant made.
And it's a good one. Got some good speed, and he hits that car, as we talked about being a launch car. A lot of altitude, a lot of air underneath the Virginia Giant. Deal doing a great job, comes off the cars hard, and it's a rough ride for the Virginia Giant. Deal Wilson. That's a beautiful truck, Ken.
We'll be back with more monster truck action from Orlando in just a moment. Back in Orlando, this is Ken Brew along with Mike Galloway. We have seen the big-wheeled, rubber-tired monster trucks, and we are getting ready for the tanks. We've got two tonight. Bigfoot Fastrax from the Bob Chandler Corral in St. Louis, and also the Stormtrooper, Ken Ewan and Rick Rodman out of Oklahoma City. I think we're going to see
Rodman
Stormtrooper first.
New Bronco. Rick loves this, and he does a great job, too. This is... Woo! My heaven. Rick does a great job with this Stormtrooper. It's the old M4 tank. This is a World War II tank. And
if the boys on the German front could see us now, huh?
this is 24,000 pounds of Stormtrooper. Rick getting this thing worked around, lines back up at the cars.
Whoa!
And he's taking a beating on the inside of that thing. There's absolutely zero suspension, or very little at least, in the old Stormtrooper. Watch him back up, get up.
Whoa!
It even fires off like a cannon.
Sits 10 feet off the ground. And as Mike mentioned, a Ford Bronco.
There's Rick. Beautiful job. That young man is destined to be a great driver in this sport.
34 years old, Rick Rodman. And here comes Fastrax.
Watch this little tank, and it's not little. It's 23,000
Now,
pounds.
Bob Chandler owns it, but he is not driving tonight.
No, this is the first time we've seen Dan Dubes drive. Dan has been driving it a little bit along, but this is the first time that, and Dan has been hired, by the way, to drive this vehicle. This
Yeah, he
is the
didn't
first
just like
time
he didn't take the keys or anything.
No, no. Watch this.
Oh my word!
Easy ride.
This seems to be a little bit lighter than the other tanks that we've seen.
Well, it's that, and along with each one of the big wheels that you see at the bottom of them are set on torsion bar suspension. So it makes the ride so much easier, and they can get so much better. Those are mounted on torsion bars, where the other tank is a solid mounted thing, and it makes the ride on Dan Dubes much better. 2 supercharged Ford motors.
Oh my word!
Dan Dubes is showing the guys the way to the house tonight.
Bob Chandler owns it. Is there anything that Chandler doesn't do right? I mean, his middle name should be first class.
Not that I have seen.
This is Bigfoot Fastrax. We saw it first earlier this year in a pull at Anaheim.
Supercharged, watch this. Before he quits tonight, Ken, I predict that we will see Dan clear all 5 of those vehicles.
And here he is, lifting it up and strutting his stuff.
And he should. That's an M84 personnel carrier with an 86 Ford van body.
Not a tank in the strictest sense of a tank, but it was used to carry troops, I guess.
Of course, we've seen Dan Dubes run many times with his old Yeller pulling truck.
Yep. As I recall, he's got a lovely wife in this sport, Pat.
And his son now driving that truck. And Dan's occupation now. Well, according to...
Here comes the Stormtrooper out on top of the cars, and the crowd, like in the big rubber-tired monster trucks, will determine the winner. Dubes was all business on this particular heat, and this is his first pass at the cars.
Puts it in gear. Jumps in the throttle. Here comes air. Look at this thing climb. Just unbelievable that you could get a tank-type vehicle up that high. Now look at Dan. If you saw Dan when he landed, his landing, he wasn't taking the beating that Ricky has taken over the evening. I think it says Dan's occupation depends on what he does tonight.
Yeah.
I believe his occupation will be monster van driver after tonight.
I think Bob Chandler will be proud. We still have a showdown, though, between the tank and the rubber-tired. It'll be the Bigfoot Fastrax against the Excaliber. We're back in Orlando as the battle of the monster trucks continue. We have seen heats. Now we will see the championship run. It'll be the Excaliber holding up the honor of the rubber-tired monster trucks. The Excaliber, which was NBA in the first one. And I don't mean basketball, I mean nothing but air.
If anyone can hold it up, it would be Dave Marquette out of Toledo, Ohio, and he will go for it. He would love to notch his gun with Bigfoot Fastrax victory. Ooh, backing up for quite a run at this thing.
He is gonna, and you know, that front truck, or that front car is so mashed down as a launch car after the tanks got through with it, he's liable to leap all 5.
I think we're going to see that before this evening's over with. Here he comes.
Oh my my
We've
goodness!
just seen it. If he can shut it down.
Oh, man!
He did it. He did it. Dan Dubes had the whole card. Dave Morquette pulled it off before the Fastrax got the chance.
And the crowd loves it as the Excaliber leaps them all.
They only get one shot at it when they come back. I mean, it's not run out and do your best. It's go for it one time only.
Mike, it was like Superman. It really was.
Well, look how far he's back, and then he mashes that big blown alcohol Chevrolet. But look at it. He's going for it. He knows what he's doing. He's inside, and launching is so important. Up in the air, does he even touch that fifth car? I don't think so. It looks like to me he clears it by a long way.
Yes, he does.
Up in the air, and then on the brakes to shut it down. Hey, how you gonna top that one?
Well, that is the job of Dan Dubes in the Bigfoot Fastrax.
Now, Dan Dubes is going at this backwards from what Excaliber did.
Now, why would he do that, Mike?
Well, I think that the car on this end is not mashed as flat, and possibly give him a little more air, maybe give him a little more momentum to get some... he wants to really win this thing, and it's going to be tough for him.
Well, in aerodynamics, they would say, let's see if he has the lift.
Well, he's getting a big run at it.
Oh!
And he did it. He did it, and he ripped parts everywhere. Dan Dubes, that has got to be one of the most exciting jumps I've ever seen. I don't want to pick a winner on this one.
Well, I want to see it again. There is what's left of the cars at center track, and here again is the leap of Dan Dubes.
Look at the acceleration. Dan Dubes is ready to go as he hits the cars, probably running 35, 40 miles an hour, and then airborne all the way up, and we're talking a lot of air. Doesn't quite make it over that fifth car, but when he lands, he's got to be on those brakes in a hurry.
Look at him bounce.
He takes a pretty good jolt, but he gets himself together. He says in high gear, which he had to be in high gear when he made that jump, it'll stop almost on a dime.
Absolutely incredible, the performance tonight here of the neophyte driver, Dan Dubes.
Ooh.
Neophyte at the age of 41.
That's, that has got to have shaken Dan a little bit. That landing was so rough.
The crowd roaring its approval, both of Dubes and Dave Marquardt, who drove Excaliber.
They're both winners in my books, Ken Brew.
And of course, what better author in the world of truck and tractor pulling than Mike Galloway? Oh, what a night we've seen, Mike. Just a superb night of racing.
Oh, man. We saw a good four-wheel drive class as we talked to Dan Coelho about driving the vehicle down the track. That's what he thought it took to win, and he proved it. Also, we saw tonight a tremendous pull-off in the two-wheel drive class, and we did that with the Orange Blossom Special. Then, when we get to this shootout, this double tough monsters and tank class, we saw absolutely the cream of the crop.
A lot of air, and that's what it's all about when you're leaping the cars at center track. Good work.
It was enjoyable.
We'll see you next month, because the Budweiser U.S. Hot Rod Truck Pull Championships, featuring the Battle of the Monster Trucks, has been brought to you by Budweiser. Beechwood Age for that distinctively clean, crisp taste that makes Budweiser the king of beers. For all you do, this Bud's for you. Now for my partner, Mike Galloway, and our producer-director, Mike Harbaugh. This is Ken Brew, reminding you that this has been a presentation of Bud Sports, aired through the facilities of ESPN.